Alright, back with another replay playing as Tzeentch. This time I'm facing up against the Ogre Kingdoms, and we are playing on Grove of Slaughter. And I brought pretty heavy anti-large roster. I was kind of looking at this matchup. I don't want to say quite similarly to the Bretonnia matchup, but in a sense, in that I wanted to have a lot of anti-large because almost the entire Ogre Kingdoms roster is large units outside of Saber Tusk packs and Noblars and things of that nature. So we've got 5 squads of Marauders of Tzeentch with spears, Spawn of Tzeentch, Pink Horrors of Tzeentch. I've got a Herald of Tzeentch as my lord. And then I've got 2 squads of Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. And for my opponent, in the Ogre Kingdoms, they've got Skrag the Slaughterer. They've got 4 squads of Noblar Trappers. It's kind of hard to see their flag against this background. They've got Ogre Bulls with dual weapons, Iron Fists, and Standard. It's kind of hard for me to get a count of each of them. And Lead Belchers. And if I didn't say it, Skrag the Slaughterer as their lord. He's got anti-infantry, armor piercing. It's like, is he the lore of Maw? Right, so he's got Brain Gobbler, Bull Gorger, Bone Crusher. Looks like he brought everything. Which I'm gonna assume that means this guy's a newer player. I think I forgot to rearrange my spells outside of one, so I brought. Let's see, did I? It might have been the match before this that I know I played a match recently where I forgot to redo my spells on my lore. That might have been the one before this. I'll fast forward to kind of speed through this progression up to the point. Alright, so going for points 3 and points 2, I've got 3 groups of spearmen heading on to point 2. I did not see that he had all these Noblar Trappers in here because they have the stalk ability. He's got Lead Belchers getting some shots in. Luckily, we are in the woods here. And that was part of what I was doing with going for point 2. When the match was starting, I almost went for points 1 and 3. But I figured if he was bringing Lead Belchers and things like that, I would like to be in the trees. And I felt that his shooting was going to be more powerful than mine. I'm not sure how much the trees disrupt the Noblar Trapper fire, but my understanding is that they disrupt all shooting. So he's got Skrag in here with a group of Noblar Trappers, just punishing my Marauders of Tzeentch. They also got shot up by the Lead Belchers and whatever else, so pushing me off of point 2. They're starting to get the, I guess they're getting the capture weight there. And they're sitting on point 1 with some Ogre Bulls. Got a squad of Ogre Bulls coming around the flank. I'm bringing in some Screamers. And as I was looking at this, I figured, okay, well, it's going to be time to reinforce the middle. And I figured that Spawn would be a good unit to bring in there because they had a lot of smaller targets, those being Noblar Trappers. Spawn are anti-infantry, and so getting them on top of Noblars, they'll shred through them. Now, my opponent had some Ogre Bulls with Iron Fists all off on his flank. I'm not sure if he brought the Iron Fist variants out this way because in the open area they have the shields to deflect shooting. I don't know how deeply he was thinking about that, but I figured that I would charge out there because I didn't want to be sitting on point 3 with a lot of my troops while point 2 I was getting pretty heavily crushed. Although I am ahead in the damage value, you know, he's got the capture weight on there, and ultimately that's what matters the most. So I brought in some Screamers, charged in on top of these Iron Fist Ogre Bulls, brought in 2 squads of Marauders with spears, and my cavalry are now on the way to figure out what I want to do with them. And I was looking at my Chaos Knights and I was thinking, well, these guys aren't going to perform too well for, you know, how much they cost out in the open field against, you know, standard Ogre Bulls and whatnot. At least that's not what I was thinking. So over here, I've got them chasing after this squad of Ogre Bulls with dual weapons because I figured I can crash these guys. From my experience playing as the Ogres, the Ogre Kingdoms, not all their units have great leadership, so if you can catch guys out away from the rest of their force, you can chase them off. So I brought them in over there, and then this squad of Chaos Knights I'm bringing into the woods, and I really wanted to get the Chaos Knights disrupting the shooting and on top of the Noblars, because they're really going to be my best anti-infantry choice. Again, my roster is super heavy on Marauders with Spears and on Screamers. And again, that's just like cheaper anti-large troops, especially the Screamers being pretty mobile. So you can see Noblar Trappers, Ogre Bulls running, a lot of troops sitting on this point. Lead Belchers, Noblar Trappers, so 3 squads of Noblar Trappers and the Lead Belchers, as well as the Sky Striders and Skrag over here. So the Sky Striders are going to be doing a good job of dealing with my spawn of Tzeentch. They've got that anti-large armor piercing, and they also have the frostbite attack. So luckily I was able to get some Marauders on top of them with Screamers. So a lot going on over here. I forget what this, if he's casting, oh, he cast a Great Maw on my Chaos Knights. I didn't even notice that. It didn't do a ton of damage, but it did decent damage. I'm not sure how much of the damage on that is armor piercing, but because of the engagement over here, you can see I took out a good couple of Ogres over here. I was able to push them back and start bringing in some of my Marauders with Spears and reinforcements. Now, a quick note I want to make. I brought Marauders with Spears as opposed to Chaos Warriors with Halberds because I felt like I could get more of them on the field. They were already going to trade pretty efficient against most of the Ogre roster, and if I were to bring the Chaos Warriors with Halberds, if they get shots off on them, if they were to get shots off on them with Lead Belchers or get a big spell cast with their lords, say the Bone Crusher spell, which I believe has more armor piercing than the Great Maw, that would do a lot more damage to me than if it was just against a standard squad of Marauders or Spears. That already is going to be doing pretty well in combat against most of their troops. And I don't think that the additional armor on the Chaos Warriors would help that much either. So Screamer's still on top of Skrag. That's pretty good. He's anti-infantry, so I don't want him getting the... anytime I can get him engaged with like a large entity like these Screamers or something like that, that's good. And now I'm starting to push him off the point. He is ahead of me on victory points. He was able to hold point 2 at the beginning. And at this point, he's also got a squad of Gorgers over here. Now, I could not see these guys. I saw the victory point changing, but I did not know what was doing it. I wasn't sure if it was Noblars or anything like that. Turned out it was Gorgers, which I did not expect. Probably a decent unit for them to bring because I didn't have a lot of shooting in this match. And these guys are anti-infantry, really good damage dealers. He's also got Saber Tusks on the way. Pretty good damage dealers as well, although they're not armor piercing. You know, 38 melee attack for how much they cost. I think they're only, I want to say Saber Tusk packs are only 500 or something like that. But Saber Tusk packs charging into the woods, and looks like they're getting on top of my pink hordes of Tzeentch, so that's not going to be a good trade for them. Luckily, I used a good amount of their ammunition. I've got my lords sitting in the back, just getting some shots off on them. And Chaos Knights still doing pretty well. Good amount of health pool on them. Another engagement going off on the left side. They were charging in with some Ogre Bulls, and my Chaos Warriors that had originally been over here were pretty beaten up. But then with the squad of Marauders, I figured I could charge out. And I wanted to shut down these Lead Belchers. And you can see them kind of repositioning to get some shots off of my Chaos Knights. But they have, again, they still have point 1. Now I brought in some Marauder Horsemen of Tzeentch over there to point 3 because I saw he brought the Gorgers off. I still hadn't, like before this kind of change happened where the Gorgers came into the woods and I got these horsemen on top of the point. I saw the Gorgers charging in and I was like, oh shit, that's what was doing the capture over here. But as soon as I saw them charging in, I was like, all right, this is a good time for me to counter capture, send some quick units around the side, and then I can bring them in to reinforce. Now, my Lord is a small entity, and they have Gorgers and 2 squads of Saber Tusk packs on top of that. And that's not what I want. So I brought in these Screamers to get on top of the Gorgers, and another squad of them because these guys are already pretty beat up. You can see I've got Screamers, Chaos Knights, and more of them over here. And I was trying to get some capture weight on the point. They've got Ogre Bulls with dual weapons. They got some Noblars coming back in. So at this point, I also brought in Doom Knights because I figured these guys have good armor. They have shields. I can use them to jump on top of the Noblar trappers that he was kind of evading me and getting shooting off with, and just clear them up, and also be able to sustain any of the shots from like lead belchers or whoever else is coming around. Now at this point, I also was able to get a new squad of Marauder Spears, although he's almost doubled up on me with victory points, so that's unfortunate. But I am getting slightly ahead in the what do you call it, the value trading. Marauder Spears is going to get on top of the Sky Striders. That's definitely a good exchange. And then I definitely want to keep these guys from chasing too far off into the woods. That's one thing that I've been aiming to be attentive to, is keeping an eye on troops that are chasing off enemy units and making sure they don't go too far off path if a troop is already broken or routing off the field far enough that it's not necessary to keep chasing them. You can see these Marauder Horsemen that I brought around the flank after they were able to capture that, starting to take some shooting from the Noblar Trappers. These guys do not have good armor, so that's going to be really, really efficient shooting for them. Skrag coming back in with some Ogre Bulls with dual weapons, and he's going to do away with these guys as soon as he gets in there. So he causes fear, so he cracked the leadership of these guys, and they're going to be running off. So the Doom Knights flying around in the woods. These guys just look so hilarious. I mean, they have like badass models, but just seeing them flying around on the discs above everybody is pretty funny. Charging in, getting on top of those Noblars like I was talking about, trying to shut down some of the shooting. And part of that is that one of my high value units, as far as like how much they cost and how much value they're going to get me, is my Screamers in this matchup. Screamers have very low armor though, so if I have Screamers locked into a fight like this, although they're being supported by Chaos Knights, if they get Noblar Trappers getting shots off on the Screamers, which are, they're large entities, so that makes them more susceptible to shooting like that, they're going to get really good value off of those Trappers if he's targeting the right types of units. So I really wanted to shut that down. Now he's got Skrag over here to support, but these guys are pretty damn tough, these Doom Knights. So brought in the army ability from my lord, getting some shooting off on the flank of these Ogre Bulls, and just sitting this squad of Marauders on the point, making sure that I'm keeping my capture weight on here. At this point I was starting to recognize how far behind I was, and I was really trying to be intentional about getting onto the point when we're locked in these engagements like this, around especially around the center of the map, making sure that I'm positioning my units so that I'm attacking from in the point and not like wrapping around trying too hard to get flanking runs or anything like that, because this still belongs to him. So again, this spot is still under my control, point 3. These Marauder Horsemen are kind of rallied back, and here's exactly what I'm talking about. These Screamers of Tzeentch followed all the way into the corner of the map, and just now I'm recognizing this and starting to pull them back. Now as that's happening, Ogre Bulls with Iron Fists coming out this way. Luckily for me, I didn't even see them coming this way, but I ran these Marauder Horsemen over here to get some shots off on Skrag. I figured he was locked in with these Marauder Horsemen, so if I reposition these guys around the side, they can get some good shots in there. And starting to catch up, closing in a little bit closer on the victory points. We do have all 3 points captured right now. And he's got some Noblar Trappers that he brought in through the backwoods to get on top of point 1. So I got some Marauders coming to try to hold off there. You can see they're actually getting chewed up pretty fast. They don't have shields, so the variant with spears does not have shields, so that's an important part in this. Again, low armor unit. And when I first sent them in, I was like, all right, these guys are going to be able to chase off the Noblar Trappers. It's a low value unit, but I kind of underestimated their firepower. They've got 160 units in these models, And they do have 15 missile strength, so it's actually more than I realized. And honestly, for all the times that I played Ogre Kingdom, that was actually the first faction that I learned in this game. I pretty rarely use these troops, and I'm starting to see, you know, how they could be actually decently valuable mixed in to the Ogre Kingdoms roster. Now I've got a squad of Chaos Knights and some Doom Knights as well that I've got coming over this way. I also brought in a squad of Furies because I wanted to get some of my mobile troops to jump on top of these Noblars. Kind of missed micro there. I should have just issued an attack command right off the bat, but ended up getting them in there, and hopefully they'll do some shutting down on these guys. So let's take a look around the rest of the battlefield. Again, getting ahead on victory points. He has 0.3, and he's working on getting 0.1 for me, but that's what I'm looking to deal with over here. I still have 0.2 fairly well secured. I could send these Marauders forward, but I wanted to sit them back and make sure that I was able to hold this point. I can't remember if I end up charging out here. Looks like I do with these guys. Oh, no. Okay, so there you go. I'm kind of thinking the same thing as I was in the match. Brought them back. Just positioned them on the field. Now, notice how I positioned him over on this side. He has lead belchers over here. So when I saw those shots coming in, I think he was aiming at my Lord. Oh, no, he's aiming at the spawn. When I saw those shots coming in, lead belchers absolutely shred infantry that are in a tight formation like this. So I've repositioned them off to the left so that this terrain was blocking their line of sight. More Screamers coming in to reinforce. These guys have been chasing some troops off into the back area and getting close on the victory points here. They still have 0.3, but they kind of stepped off of it. So I figured I'd bring my Marauder Horsemen over here, summon in some Screamers and some more Marauder Horsemen, and try to pick these guys off. And at that point, my opponent conceded. At least I'm very confident that he conceded. I don't think I hit the victory point marker because I was just commenting on that, and I want to say I was still like 250 points off. But let's take a look at the unit stats there. I don't know if it's my play style or if it's just been the matchups that I've been getting with other players recently, but for some reason I feel like I'm way better as Tzeentch than I was as a faction like a Kislev or a Nurgle. I don't know if that's a balance thing or whatever. So let's see. So my Lord did alright. Chaos Knights did alright for their cost. Spawn didn't do great. Pink Horse earned their keep. Marauders with Spears all earned their keep pretty damn well. Doom Knights got a pretty good amount of value. I think these guys only cost like 1,600. I want to say 1,500 or 1,600. So that's pretty good value on them. So these Spawn didn't do too much either. Marauder Horsemen did alright. The ones that I brought in got their value. And the Screamers, look at that. Oh my goodness, the Screamers were really doing work. Furies did alright. I kind of brought them in at the end. They were just able to jump on some Noblars, so let's check out my opponent. So Skrag did decent. Lead Belcher's alright. A lot of the Ogre Bulls didn't do too great. The Noblars did decent. Yeah, the Noblars did pretty good. Sky Striders got good value. Gorgers didn't do great. I think they cost 1,100. These Lead Belchers didn't do great. I think they got brought in towards the end. I think I might have got the jump on these guys with some Screamers when they were originally brought in as reinforcements. So overall, the Ogre Bulls didn't do great. Now, honestly, looking at this matchup after having played as the Ogre Kingdoms for some time, not that I'm like great at them, but I kind of get the roster. If I'm playing against a faction that has a lot of anti-large options, like it seems Tzeentch does, I would max out on Noblars and Noblar Trappers, and not just the Trappers. Because imagine if he had squads of 160 Noblars locked in with my Marauders with Spears. They don't need armor piercing damage or anything special to get a good trade against those guys. I think you bring less Ogre Bulls and you bring a lot more Noblars. as the Ogre Kingdoms against Tzeentch. But maybe it was just how I built my army that time. But anyways, good play to my opponent, and I will see you on the next replay.